And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly. My name is Ray. I am a bearded man of real estate, and we're live everywhere. So we are on Clubhouse. If you've never been to it, the Clubhouse show, you got to check it out. It is the real estate networking group. Find it. You'll find us live there. You can actually add your voice to this podcast. We're also live on YouTube, where you can comment, and if you'll comment, I can display your comments. Matt Lamarche was first today. What's up, Matt? And we're also live on the Facebooks. If you prefer the Facebooks, or if you're really business-oriented and you're like, you know what? I just hang out on LinkedIn all day. We're live there, too. And maybe you're not doing any of that. Maybe you wake up at 10 o'clock. You're a professional gamer. All you do is hang out on Twitch. We're even on Twitch. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. This is episode 296 of This Week in Real Estate, broadcast live Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Is Zillow the national MLS? That's what we're talking about today. We also have a whole bunch of other topics to get to. There's a lot of news. We're definitely going to be going into the the whole NAR commission rule change and its effect on Q3 earnings. We're going to be talking about if it's constitutional or not, because we have one attorney that's just back in the news. And of course, we have to cover the Engel and Völkers is burning to the ground because Matt Lamarche is in our presence. That's right. They have a CEO stepping down, so you know it's bad news. Right, Matt? I mean, everything's just going to go. Everything is just going to go to crap now.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to make an announcement later today, but in honor of the show, I figured I'd do it now.
Yeah, welcome to Real, Matt.
I was just going to say, I'm actually taking a step away from my family to spend more time with my business.
That's great.
Kids need new shoes for Christmas, apparently.
Stepping away from my family to give more time to my business. That's fantastic. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Let me share my screen, and we'll just get right to the first article here. And this is big news, and I love it, honestly. I love it when we have big news like this, because it guarantees viewers for the show. Anytime we mention the Z word. Oh, no sound. Everyone says no sound. Oh, crap. Crap. You know what that is? No sound on YouTube, but I have sound on... I mean, it's this wonderful intro that we did.
Just have to record over it later. Now I bet you can hear me. Man. Steven Johnson said, anyone else got no sound on YouTube? Thank you for letting me know, guys. And yeah, so I've just been like, I'm just going to have to do subtitles or something. We'll figure it out. All right, well, I don't want to delay. Now they can hear me. Yeah. I don't know why, but sometimes, so this is what this is. So if any of you are thinking about doing a podcast, especially if you do one live, for whatever reason, whenever I reconnect, because we do the Clubhouse from my phone. So there's a connection from, like a Bluetooth connection from Clubhouse to the Roadcaster. And for whatever reason, I'll have it all set up and hit go, and StreamYard changes my output input on the sound to default setting. And default setting is nothing. You can't hear anything. So sorry about that. I'll try to remember to catch that every time. We were a little bit behind the 8 ball this morning. I got a call right as I was supposed to go live from my broker. So I had to take care of some business. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you guys. And that's weird. That also works in Clubhouse, but it doesn't work on it's just StreamYard issue. All right. We're better. Brian's like working now. All right. We'll get to the news then. We're working now. So I love it when Big Z is in the news, because it guarantees some views, who unfortunately are going to skip out on the first 2 minutes of the show. That's okay. Compass CEO Robert Reffkin says Zillow will be the national MLS. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? This report is from Inman. The Compass CEO Robert Reffkin is on a mission to get the National Association of Realtors to repeal the Clear Cooperation policy on Friday, and invoked a familiar industry boogeyman in that effort called Zillow. In the session called, quote, "The Future of MLS," unquote, at NAR's annual conference, NAR NXT, no one mentioned the pocket listing rule directly, but now the months-long debate is over, whether it should be changed or hung over the entire hour-long conversation. Topics covered by the panelists range from artificial intelligence to industry rules to the MLS identity. I think if we're going to build an MLS today, I think it would be national, Reffkin said. There wouldn't be 548. Wow. There are 548 MLSs. This is absolutely crazy. 548 MLSs. It's just a matter of time, in his view, that Zillow is going to be the national MLS. Would this be a role change for Zillow? Like, would they be okay just being a national MLS and then maybe making money from some agents and their new Zillow home loans? Have you guys been contacted by the Zillow home loans? I mean, they've been really out there. I mean, the only salesperson better right now is Cranberry, because Cranberry's in everything. Zillow home loans is also everywhere. They were able to get access of all the listings and then charge referral fees based on the listings. It's a great business model, and those rules that you've created, so they're the winner. Fellow panelist Errol Samuelson, Zillow's chief industry development officer, did not respond to Reffkin comments about Zillow. Interesting that Reffkin is out there saying this, and there's a guy on the panel that is with Zillow. Whoopsie. The policy requires listing brokers to submit listings to realtor-affiliated multiple listing services. This is a clear cooperation policy right now. Critics of the CCP, including Reffkin, argue that it limits their choice, seller choice, and could violate antitrust laws. The rule backers, including Zillow, warn that if you repeal the current rule, it could lead to more fragmented real estate markets where large brokers don't share listings with other brokers, which would be detrimental to their business model, directly detrimental to their business model. So the article goes on. It's pretty long, actually, but that's the gist of it. So I want to get your opinion. Is Zillow positioned to be the next MLS, the national MLS? Can Zillow make the jump? Would they want to make the jump? Go ahead, Jack.
So the big question is, would it end up being one or two portals? Would they try to rely on their original portal, or have a secondary portal just for the agent side of the business?
Like an agent-sided MLS? I mean, I think...
like an MLS on top of their Zillow consumer-facing product. Because the MLS part of it, needs to have showing instructions and disclosure and firm disclosures and contact information and all that in order for it to work.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, you would have to have, how would that work? It seems like it would work in conjunction with all the boards. I mean, isn't it already kind of a national MLS? It seems like it would work in conjunction with your current, whatever system you're inputting stuff in, but it's most efficient if you just got rid of all that. Because right now, the third-party export from my current MLS to Zillow has a lot of problems. Right? Not everything gets over there correctly. And then my seller asked me like, hey, I thought you were going to put in there that we have a third car garage. I'm like, I did put in there that we have a third car garage. And it's like, Zillow doesn't say it. Like, that's a huge frustration that they have to fix.
That just proves that it's the consumer's MLS, but it's not our original data.
Right. Do you have agents right now that are looking on Zillow and then contacting you to show properties? Because I do.
I don't, and it brings up the other question of, the variety of reliance that we all have on our 500 plus different MLSs. Because MLS PIN is a pretty, it is a very good portal for us, and that's what we primarily use.
What do you primarily use again?
MLS PIN.
MLS pin. Okay, that's the one. I was just looking this up as you were saying this. That's the one that has said no to the NAR rules, right?
That's the one that makes it optional to put in compensation.
And they still allow compensation in the MLS.
Yes.
Let's see. As a reminder, MLS PIN is not affiliated with any NAR affiliated MLSs due to our ownership structure.
But bottom line in this conversation is that it's a really good MLS portal, and very useful for us. And so I don't know, that might be the Cadillac versus, the whatever, the Peugeot of somebody else's MLS.
Yeah. I think they could do it. I just don't know that they would want to do it. I think if they take on the responsibility of being the national MLS, that's going to sit different with investors. It's going to sit different with users. I just don't see Zillow voluntarily giving up their capitalists for this political MLS move. And I don't see a way that, I don't know, maybe they could keep a strong business model with it. I just don't see their current business model existing in the same frame if Zillow takes that role on.
I'm sort of surprised that one of the existing MLSs hasn't latched onto this by now.
Well,
and what do I always say, Ray? They could name it Realtor.com.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, we could use that Realtor.org thing we have, because right now, what is it? Just the NAR news place, and that's nothing really there. Actually, every week, I should say this. Every week I go to NAR. What's the website? It's magazine.nar. That's where they put all the news. Okay. And every week for the last year and a half, 2 years, I haven't used anything from Realtor. It's nar.realtor/magazine/real estate news. That's where they're supposed to be putting all of the industry news. That's where they're supposed to be putting industry announcements, Lawrence Yun reports, and all that kind of stuff. And in the last year and a half, it's been relatively unusable. So they could take the realtor.org domain and give it to a national MLS. There are 3 or 4 different MLSs that combined in the Alabama area. I can't remember the exact one. We did a news story on it a couple of months ago, but they were starting to formulate the national MLS. But I just don't see Zillow being the one to say, yeah, we'll be the national MLS for all you guys. I mean, they would get much higher. Everyone would pay membership dues to Zillow. But I think if people are going to start paying membership dues to Zillow, they're going to require them to change their business model. Because what I don't want is my clients going there and then being sent to some other real estate agent. So that doesn't make sense. So that's why I think their current business model can't coexist if Zillow became the national MLS. What am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anything. Anyone in the comments, drop in the comments if you think this is a good idea.
You're not missing anything, because it's the difference between an industry portal and a consumer portal, right?
Well, so yes, but the Houston area Board of Realtors, that's not what they call it. Haybar, whatever it is. They have, Zillow has not been very successful in Houston because their MLS is open to the public. And so they have the agent side portal to input the listings, and then they have the consumer side to go search it. And they've had a lot of success with that. And I think that's the model for the national MLS. But what do I know? I'm just a bearded guy on the internet. Okay, next up, let's move on. Impact of NAR's commission rule change illuminated in Q3 earnings. Ooh, are people making less money? Maybe. The iBuyers are getting creative, it says. The iBuyers had a rough go over the last couple of years. As a result, have lost some mind share lately. but they're still significant in the discussion because unlike brokerages or franchisers, they're actually selling homes. I mean, the way that's worded is a little offensive, but and critically, both Open Door and OfferPad appear to be taking a hard look. Appear to be taking, I think it's what they meant, a hard look at how they want to structure agent compensation or if they want to offer it at all. Here's what iBuyer's executive said during the earnings calls. OfferPad CEO Brian Baer, November 4th, said, definitely starting to see some impact of the commission, maybe 50 basis points coming down on the buy side. A lot of direct conversations from agents asking what commission OfferPad pays, continued with buyer demand being low to keep commissions, and obviously to partner with our agents to keep commissions with our original underwritten commissions. So they're trying to make it work with agents. Are you getting a lot of people asking what your commission is before you show a home? Because that's, I mean, the number one question we're getting right now. Open Door CEO Carrie Wheeler on November 7th said, we began transitioning from paying a blanket buyer broker commission to offering concessions to buyers. If you bring us the best offer, we're going to offer concessions. It's not formalistic. It can vary. Then, oh man, I hate these little pop-ups. And then it refreshes the whole page. Stop it, Inman. So pressure on commissions is real. iBuyer executives' comments above were among some of the more explicit on the earnings regarding commission pressure, but they weren't the only ones. Case in point, Anywhere CEO Ryan Schneider. Our commission rates were down for 4 to 5 basis points this quarter, 4 points in one business, 5 points in the other business. And that's actually a little less than last quarter. We gave a bunch of commentary on what was driving that. So they are seeing a decrease in the amount of commission they're collecting. Glenn Kelman, which, by the way, they left NAR formally. Redfin. Most homeowners are still willing to pay the buyer's agent, but many aren't setting an agent's fee in advance. Instead, they're planning to negotiate alongside with other offer terms. That's what we're seeing too, which is exactly what the DOJ and everyone, I think, wanted, because they didn't want to pre-negotiate a buyer agent compensation structure. Okay. Who else? Remax president Amy Lessinger on November 1 said our agents are continuing to navigate the changes. They lean in. They're, oh man, that's such CEO speak. And they're out there articulating their value. I do not think enough time has passed to draw any large conclusions. The difference in the average is very negligible. So if you're at a company where you're seeing a difference being negligible, that's probably a good company with some good training on what to say and how to offer value. Commission rule bulls, they're welcoming. Lessinger said they're welcoming the opportunity, but worth noting because they capture widespread sentiment among executives. Redfin took a similar stance, with Kelman saying during its earnings call, if more consumers seek a better value for their broker in 2025, Redfin may expect a larger share. Compass CEO Robert Reffkin said, I could tell we're not seeing any meaningful change to our business since the announcement in our settlement post August 17th related to commission rates, and they're still in line with historical internal averages. Anecdotally, we're hearing things about both ends of the spectrum, but we're hearing a number of top agents, for example, saying they're now charging a stronger commission rate. That's also what we're seeing. Zillow Chief Financial Officer Jeremy Hoffman said, we're really working with top agents versus a broad swath of folks in the Premier Agent program. If our agents across our PA business, the Premier Agent business, we're seeing commission rates stay in a tight band. We believe our partners are outsized beneficiaries of the change. Yeah, that's what we've been saying, that the top agents who know how to provide value and communicate their value are going to be the ones that benefit from this rule change. And those agents, those 87% of agents that fail in the first year or two of real estate, those are going to be the ones that really struggle with this change. And I think this news bears that out. I don't think anyone is surprised or shocked at this news, right? I mean, I'm not surprised. This is what I'm seeing. What's up, Mike? This is what I'm seeing in our business as well, where because we have a better suite of offers, people are willing to pay us more to work for them because we actually work for them. We do the whole door knocking and mailers and videos for our buyers and all this other stuff. So we have tons of value that we give on the buyer side of the transaction, and they go meet with another agent, and that other agent's like, yeah, I'll just charge you whatever percent. And it's a low percent. Like, yeah, but what will you do for me? I think that's what people want to know. They're okay paying if you actually pull weight, if you actually have value. They're okay paying for it. Here's some, wait, I got to find it. Hold up. Here's some law news. Guess who's back in the news? I mean, she's been staunch is not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for? Aggressive is not the right word. It is persistent. That's the word I'm looking for. Unconstitutional court order risk NAR deal on appeal, says a professor. So contracts law professor Tanya Monastir, an objector for the NAR settlement, described Judge Stephen Ball's order to compel objectors to appear in person as glaring appellate issue. So apparently Stephen Ball said, yeah, if you guys want to appeal, you just got to appear in person to do it. And then she says that this is unconstitutional to require her to go there. It seems like the reason why he's trying to require people to show up is to avoid people that are just trying to file paperwork and gum up the issue. But she says this court lacks the authority to compel in-person attendance at a fairness hearing after assuring class members that their voices would be heard if they played by certain rules outlined in the class notice. A motion for reconsideration should be granted when there's, quote, clear error of law or to, quote, prevent manifest injustice. Denying objectors an opportunity to be heard is a violation of objectors' due process rights under the Fifth Amendment. She said if the district court denies the motion on legal grounds, here constitutional grounds, the appellate court does not give any difference to the decision. It reviews it devo from scratch. Plaintiffs will respond to it. A few other other timely submitted objections ahead of the final approval hearing. The same plaintiffs did not file similar requests in the Gibson and other similar cases, which the court ordered objectors to appear in person in the final approval hearing. Monastir did not file an objection in that case. The plaintiff's attorneys also only asked the court to consider her objection regardless of whether she appears, not any of the other objections. So we'll see what happens. Basically, she came up with this objection, and man, they're really on. Inman wants you to register for this New York thing, and they want it so bad that they're just popping up all the time. So basically, the class settlement, to bring all of you up to date who've been following along with this just a little bit. A class action lawsuit, once it's settled, then the settlement has to be approved by the judge. And before the settlement is approved by the judge, there's time for anyone that was part of that class action settlement to make an objection. And if that objection is legit, then they can pull themselves out of the class action lawsuit and sue. If the objection is not legit, then they're wrapped up into the class action and it is settled. So she tried that and has said, I don't want my settlement to be a part of this, because apparently she bought or sold a house during that time period. And she is one that also reviewed the agent representation agreements and said that all of the new agent representation agreements that she had reviewed were terrible for home buyers. And then she submitted a representation agreement with what she thought, and we broke down that representation agreement. So she's been in the news, 3 or 4 times now since this settlement. And she's a professor of law at, I believe, Buffalo. Let me see. Where is that? A law professor is challenging, I don't guess it. Yeah, University of Buffalo. So we'll see if it stands. We'll see if it gets tossed. And apparently she's going to appeal the decision. If they just say no because she doesn't appear in person, she'll appeal the decision, and she says it's unconstitutional. They can't win for losing. It's basically the summary of the situation. Speaking of can't win for losing, Matt LaMarche, Engel and Völkers is just on fire. Not in a good way.
This isn't how I wanted. This isn't exactly how I wanted to make my announcement.
It's burning
about taking over the company. 4 or 5 years here.
Yeah, I think
they know how to identify real talent. So here I am. What can I say?
I'd vote for you.
Anthony, we're going to real estate wonderful again. Okay, I'm going to do it.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
No, thank you, Donald. Thank you.
Anthony Hitt to step down as CEO of Engel and Völkers Americas. Engel and Völkers Americas President Anthony Hitt will step down from his position at the end of 2024 to focus on personal endeavors, it says. Executives for the luxury brand announced on Tuesday. Hitt's been with EV since 2010 and served as CEO for 11 years. These pop-ups. Stuart Siegel, who's America's chief strategy officer, will serve as interim president. Let's see. Anything else here? I don't think there's much else here. It's just interesting, whenever someone sees this, and I always joke with Matt about EV, because I did see a couple of people say, "What's wrong with this company? What's going on?" And so, of course, I posted in our collab group, like, hey, wait, what's funny about this is I can't see the actual post anymore because it's on a timed thing, but I don't know why I did this, but it didn't load. But I said something about how they were burning down now. And then I told Matt, hey, you might want to check WhatsApp because a bunch of people are saying EV is in trouble, and really it was just me.
We do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
4 years of this. I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. No, it did raise an interesting point because I sent our CEO a message when I saw this article. She's been part of the franchise for, 6 or 7 years. It raised the question, as a CEO, I don't know, there's 6,500 advisors in the Americas, 16,000 in the company, globally. So for, a comparably sized company, how long should a CEO be around? Because think about how much has changed in real estate in the last 14, 15, 20 years, much less in the last, 6 months.
Yeah.
And think about technology, especially. I mean, I feel like those guys are there for a week and then they're like, we didn't really hit the marks. You're fired. But is there I don't know, is there a normal amount of time now? Because CEOs used to be around for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, it seems like
now
5
years.
Not. It seems like that 5. I feel like we see a change every 5 years or so, but I could be wrong on that. It's just what it seems like.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is interesting.
We'll see.
I can't stop sharing my screen, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be up there the whole time, and then we're just going to switch screens. I hope that this works. Okay, I can switch screens. I just can't unshare my screen. Mortgage demand stalls. Financial markets digest a Trump presidency. Let's dive into the econ a little bit. Total application volume is essentially flat, just rising 0.5% last week compared to the previous one, according to Mortgage Bankers Association seasonally adjusted index. While tiny, the increase marks the first rise in overall demand in 7 weeks. Applications to refi, they fell 2%. Applications for mortgage to purchase a home rose 2%. Now that's interesting. So we actually had an increase in the home purchase applications. That was 1% higher than the same week a year ago. And the same week a year ago, I didn't look it up, but I think we had close to 7% interest rates back then. So right now it's 6.5, 6.75, something like that. I think it's below 7 right now, but we're still 1% higher. That's not bad. It's not terrible. I don't think it's people saying I'm going to now wait to see what the Trump presidency does. I don't think that's happening. I actually predicted that buyers would come back to the market faster, but she says these are the financial markets that are digesting the news of Trump. So what news are they digesting? Let's take a look at this article from Broke Agent Media. It says America's toughest housing markets shifted to red. And here's why. I should say in the middle of this article, they say this is not an endorsement for the election results. It's an acknowledgement of what the numbers are telling us about voter behavior in markets where fewer residents can afford to buy a home. You're welcome, Eric. Vice President Harris may be the first and only of the two main candidates to address housing during the presidential debate in September, but ultimately proposals to make housing more affordable weren't popular enough to sway voters in the battleground states. Housing crisis and the impact on the 2024 election. There was a red shift. The most difficult housing market saw the greatest median shift towards Trump. So housing did matter to a whole bunch of people. This shift is calculated by comparing a 2020 vote margin with 2024 vote margin. The data is current as of November 8th. So very interesting. Hardest hit, a shift of 4.5%. And then hardest 20%, hardest 30%. They all had 4 and 3. So there was what's interesting though is it kind of shows that there was a shift overall. I mean, all these are within a percentage point or two. So there seems to be just an overall shift. So I wonder if they're making a mountain out of a molehill, but it is interesting to see that maybe that played a part. I think maybe the economy was the biggest part of it, and people saw housing as one part of that economy. Robert Shapiro, political science professor at Columbia University, said voters were feeling economic hardship to an extent that was not fully appreciated by the Democrats, by the administration, and the Harris campaign picked up on it, but it was too little too late, and the price of housing figures into that heavily. That's what I think. It was kind of an overall economic shift, and part of that is also housing. Housing affordability and economic angst. Let's see, housing, there was another quote. Trump positioned himself as a force for positive change in the economy as well as the housing market, while Harris more or less represented a continuation of the status quo. Trump's policy, and it links back to his policy that we've talked about before on the show, relies more heavily on regulatory adjustments, repurposing federal land, than spending on billions of dollars to incentivize zoning changes and affordable housing construction. When it comes down to it, plenty of voters who leaned red on November 5th were looking at the overall economy. That's kind of what I think too. So I don't think this is people digesting what's happening. I don't think that's why over here we saw an uptick in 2% for mortgage applications, but it went down from refi. I think people are just looking at the rates saying now's not maybe a great time to refi, but hey, I do want to go ahead and buy that house. But what else are they looking at? This article says, here's what the Trump presidency could mean for the housing market based on experts. This says it's clear that a prescription for the crisis is more building. I think a lot of people are supply, which I haven't heard the government talk about supply so much in a long time. So I am excited about that because I feel like we've been preaching that for 3 or 4 years, saying, hey, you have to fix supply. You can't just give buyers a grant to purchase a house when there's not enough houses, because that's going to make the whole situation worse. So I think the focus on supply is pretty good. Trump talked about, while building more homes is simpler to address the housing issue in the country, other promises Trump made could deter affordability efforts, like deporting a whole bunch of illegals that may be working on building. That could increase building costs because the builders are going to have to actually pay a labor. He also claimed that he would pull down mortgage rates back to a pre-pandy area low. So deregulation to increase affordability is a big part of it. Eliminating regulatory barriers to affordable housing, federal, state, and local and tribal opportunities. It could be a blueprint going forward. Number 2 was impacts of construction on the workforce. Trump also blamed rising home prices on a surge of illegal immigration during the Biden administration. However, experts say most undocumented immigrants are not homeowners. They're not homeowners, but they live somewhere. So if you are a big investor and you can buy a neighborhood of homes where illegal immigrants want to rent, then that is taking supply off the market. So I don't know. I mean, yes, there's a fixed number of of housing units, and if you increase the number of people who need the housing by 15 million, that's going to be an issue. So it is an issue. Let's see, about 31% of construction workers in the U.S. were immigrants, but it doesn't say illegal immigrants. It just says immigrants. Anything that threatens to disrupt the flow of immigrant labor will send shockwaves through the market. I don't think they're talking about deporting legal immigrants. It's illegal immigrants. Tariffs could hike building costs. Trump has proposed 10 to 20% tariff on imports across the board. Kind of. As well as a rate between 60 and 100% for goods from China. Yes, because China is currently tariffing ours to heck. The blanket tariff of 10 to 20% on raw building materials like lumber. So this was mentioned, a blanket tariff. I think he's using it more for a negotiation strategy. We'll see what happens. But you kind of have to posture this in order to use it effectively for negotiation and say, hey, we're going to make a bunch of money off a tariff so that we don't have to tax Americans as much. You have to posture this for sure. And then you can negotiate with who you're tariffing because they think, oh, you're really going to do it. If they didn't think you were ever really going to do it, then there's no negotiation there. And this comes from his book, by the way, Art of the Deal. That's exactly what he's talking about. It depends on what the tariffs look like, said Daryl Fairweather, chief economist at Redfin. There could be varying impacts. Overall, home builders expect construction 300,000 multifamily units over the year. We're not quite building back up to the pace that we need to, but it'll be higher than this year. So that's good. We'll see more inventory next year compared to this year. So that's what it says back on this article. The financial markets are processing. And that's why there's not been much movement, because they're trying to figure out exactly what's happening. I would have to say that Trump is making some very notable and fast cabinet moves, which is helping people get a grasp on exactly what they can expect next year to look like. And we've talked about this before, but volatility is the enemy of a steady home price, nice market where people can buy and sell easily around the country and move where they need to in your market. Volatility is the enemy of that situation. And knowing kind of what's going to happen is always a friend. So the faster that he can do this is going to be better. And the same could be said if Kamala was in power. The people being assured of what's going to happen would help them make the moves they need to make, basically, both in business and in like physically moving around the country. All right, so this was one of the articles about that mass deportation plan that we already kind of talked about a little bit. Nice photo of Trump behind razor wire. Good job, news. So ridiculous. President-elect Trump won the White House on his promise to rein in immigration. Tom Homan is the guy that's going to be running that. He's the border czar, to borrow a phrase from the Biden admin. This talks about, it kind of talks about what we just talked about in the last article. It could have an impact on the low-skilled labor, but it could also offer more jobs to Americans that don't currently have those jobs. And it could be good for the economy because you're putting more people to work who are going to be paying the taxes instead of, money under the table. So we'll see what happens. Rents are flat nationally in October, but rising East Coast and Midwest metros. The flattening of the rents has made it more difficult for investors. I feel like for maybe about a year and a half or so, it seemed like investors were just able to buy whatever and rent it out immediately. We had a lot of investors playing our market that way. That has slowed down considerably, but we still have some good deals on the market. They're just harder to find. And one of the reasons is I think I think landlords are currently looking at what they can get for rent, and it's not supporting some of the prices because the prices are still increasing due to the lack of supply. And then multifamily has had an increase in supply, so there has been a decrease in the rents there because there is more for people to choose from. So rents have been flat nationally in October, but rising East Coast and Midwest metros. See, I'm trying to see if, Columbus, Ohio. So we get a call a lot for people saying, I'm looking to invest in Birmingham, Alabama, Columbus, Ohio, or Little Rock, Arkansas. It's usually when there's a podcast rerun out there that mentions us. I don't see us on the big list. We're just a small metro. Okay. Expect mortgage rates to remain elevated and volatile as the market digests election results. Again, digesting election results. It'll take a little bit for everything to kind of settle out. Anytime you change economic policy, anytime you make a big transition, there's always an immediate opposite move than you want. But then once everything is kind of in place, people have moved the money where they want to move the money, it generally will shake out. Either way, that happened during Obama, happened during Trump 1, happened during Biden. You always kind of see that. It's not strange. But this article...
Well, just real quick on that. I was just going to say, I don't know. Maybe I just haven't been paying close enough attention in the past presidential elections. But I feel like, especially in the last 3 or 4 days, there's been a lot of press releases and a lot of announcements of positions in cabinet and administration, and dude hasn't even shown up yet.
Yeah.
So is that normal? And again, I'm curious. I'm just asking from a place of curiosity because I don't recall that ever being the case. Even obviously in 2016, I don't even think that was the case. I don't think he had any idea what he was doing when he first showed up. So is that a normal thing? Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a couple of different parts to this, and someone was talking about it on the news, and they were mentioning a couple of administrations that were able to kind of get their cabinet and their appointments pretty quickly. But the reason why this is so newsworthy, I don't know if you've checked the numbers on cable news, but since the election, the MSNBC, CNN, what's the other cable news outlet out there? There's several of them. Their ratings are down 40 and 50%. Some of the shows are down 60%. So there was a lot of click for hate or watch for hate. Whether you agree with it or not, doesn't matter. There was a lot of that going on during the election. And it was such a high pressure boiling point moment that now that the election's over, a lot of people are just turning it off or tuning it out. And it's having a massive impact on their ratings. So I think part of it is we have to find something else to put out there for people to get revved up about. So check out this cabinet appointment. Check out this person that's going to be running immigration. Check out this person. I mean, are these horrible people? Let's talk about what this means for everyone. And so I think that's a big part of it is trying to get those viewers back that stopped watching by increasing that blood pressure again and getting them to watch. I think the other thing that's happening is that Biden, the current president, is not really doing anything. And I don't know if he can do much. So there's not much news coming out of the current admin. And usually you have the current president trying to get some things through and trying to push some stuff. And then the media is calling him a lame duck because, he's going to be out, but he's still trying to do some stuff and trying to put some things in place. And they usually pardon a bunch of people that they like during this time period. And, that's happening from the outgoing admin, but it's been very quiet, except, I saw some video of him walking on the beach, but he was like stumbling through the sand. And it's just like, man, I don't think people want to watch it. So the current admin's not doing much. So they're not going to focus on that. There's nothing to talk about. They're not going to get their views. So where are they going to get them from? And so I think those two things matter a lot as why we're hearing about it, why we're seeing it. The side thing that has happened before historically, but is significant this time around versus in 2016, is that he is appointing all these people so quickly, and they seem to be everyone that's very much in line with what he told the American people he was going to do. So it's what people voted for. And, I keep, they keep putting clips of The View and stuff like that up. And the ladies of The View are like, this is what you voted for. And pretty much everyone's like, yeah, it is. This is what we voted for. This is why we need this. We want less bureaucracy. We want less corruption in the government. We want a better economy. We want less illegal immigration. We want to bring them in here legally. And all of these things that he said he was going to do, he's putting people in those positions who have expressed those same viewpoints, I think, for the first time. So that is significant. I think the other, maybe the fourth thing that makes it so significant is it's so in view now versus what it used to be. Now with X just being a platform where anyone can say anything, all the news is shared there and fact checked there, like crowd fact check. So there's tons of news stories coming out every day on there that then the media is picking up and then pulling them into their news channels. So instead of like a general press release, they're releasing press releases on Twitter. And everything is so in view versus, what was 4 years before 2016 is 2012. I mean, iPhones were 4 years old, 6 years old at that time. So all the social media stuff was still kind of new. Much of it was not very conservative. So if you had news like this, it wouldn't be talked about very much. So now you have a platform where a lot of conservatives are, and they're talking about it a lot. So I think maybe those are the four things that are contributing to it just being so in our face right now. And he is moving at like lightning speed. I'm wondering if after the first 4 years, he now realizes how fast the 4 years goes by, and he's trying to set up to do as much as possible starting day one. He told Tom Holman, Holman was like, yeah, we could get all this stuff done in 120 days. And Trump said, you've got 60. So he's putting a lot of pressure on people to perform in a way that people had voted for. And he's setting them up as fast as possible, getting them in position as fast as possible to do that. And it has been done before, but it hasn't been done like this and this visibly before. But I think that goes to the other couple of reasons. That's my take.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I didn't never really watched a ton of network news television in general. And I think you're right about Twitter, because Twitter was before Elon purchased it, a very different platform. And while I didn't produce a lot of content, I definitely consumed a ton there in the past. But I don't know. It just, like you said, it seems like he knows now, or has a much better idea of what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows that the next 90 days can actually be, or 60 days, I guess now, can be, a springboard, if you will, for the next 4 years. But yeah, the visibility piece is interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Because my daughter was asking me, she's like, I think it was last Tuesday night, she's like, the news has been on for like 5 hours. And I'm like, yeah, it actually is on 24 hours a day, believe it or not. And when I was a kid, you had like the morning news at nightly, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. The nightly, maybe the local news was on at noon.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly what we had.
That was it. And now it's 24 hours. So, but I did see something from CNN's, I think it was their Twitter account, saying that they were making some pretty substantial cutbacks to some of their like biggest names, which kind of goes in line with what you're saying about the ratings and stuff being down. So it's interesting.
There's some big names being let go, big contracts being let go, maybe renegotiated, maybe CNN shared the news in order to renegotiate those contracts. But yeah, I mean,
if you told me that was a job in high school that I could make, 7 figures lying on television, I would absolutely take a look at some point. So
Yeah. So one of the guys, I don't know that much about him, but one of the guys that Trump chose actually currently works for Fox News, which, I mean, that sent MSNBC into a tizzy. It was funny. I've actually watched those other channels more now than I have in the past, just because I like to see what they're saying about it. It's so radical and out there, easily fact checked. I just don't know how they're going to make it. It's like watching something that you know is not good and wondering how long is that going to last? It can't last very long. And I guess from the cuts, you're seeing that, like, Joy Reid show is 60% viewership drop. I think it was crazy. That's a crazy drop. That's 40% of people are going to continue to watch after the election. That's nuts. Hillary said, I actually forget Biden is still our president, to be honest. Yeah, I think there's so much talk about Trump and what he's going to be doing. Today was the first time they talked about Biden in a while, and that was because Trump met with him. Which is interesting. I mean, if you would think if you really thought someone was a threat to democracy, you wouldn't like go shake his hand by a fireplace and say, yeah, congratulations, welcome back. But that's just me. That's just my take. Maybe I'm wrong. Matt Lamar says, I think we should regulate how many homes bearded men can own. I mean, that's one way to do it. Matt says walking on sand is hard for the elderly. Get him off the sand. Yeah, it was a bad clip. If you guys saw that, it was actually really sad to watch it, because no one helped him, and he's like stumbling forward, and no one was there to grab his hand. It was not good. Not a good look. All right, so we'll see what happens. I made a prediction that I thought buyers would be coming back to the market pretty heavily. So far, what we've noted in our business is that a lot of sellers, we've had 3 or 4 listing presentations in the last 7 days or so. So we've seen a lot of listings coming back on the market. Of course, they're buying somewhere, but that's good news. I mean, that's going to be an increase in supply for sure, but it's also going to be more buyers looking as those people are relocating. Pending home sales held steady the final run up to the election, despite 7% mortgage rates. Man, the internet. I normally have an internet icon from the live. It's like you're no longer even on the internet, and I'm very choppy. I've got to figure this out. I've got very, very good internet, gigabit internet. I have no idea why it's just stalling like that. Sorry, guys. All right, now it's back. Okay, the article we were talking about, pending home sales held steady for the final run-up to the election despite the 7% mortgage rate. Pending home sales rose 4.3% year over year during the 4 weeks ending November 3rd, in line with the increases we've seen over the last 6 weeks. But there are signs that house hunters' earlier phases of the home buying process are paused while the presidential election drew to a close. Redfin's Home Buyer Demand Index, a measure of tours, is at its lowest level since mid-September. Buyers have been jittery the last few weeks because of the election. I think that's what we saw like the week or two before the election. But a month before the election, people were still buying. A week or two before the election, people are like, let's wait. Let's see what happens. So I think people have now seen what happens, and they're coming back. And the last article I want to talk about, Zillow predicts these design trends will rule in 2025. I'm going to have to reload the page because it's not loading my photos. It's loading the ads, but it's not loading the photos. All right, I want to know from you guys. 5 emerging design trends. Electric features. Whole home batteries are the fastest growing feature in for sale listings, surging 62% over the past year. These batteries store excess energy from solar panels and act as a generator during power outages when the sun isn't shining. So it's surging by 62%. That does not mean that it covers 62% of the current listings. I mean, I think that's due in part to the people that are selling solar panels. They're good salespeople. There's not a month that goes by that I don't get asked by a client or two if they should put solar panels on their house. So solar panels appear 18% more often in property listings below, as are the search terms sustainable and green. Is this happening in your market? Are people asking for more of a energy efficient home with EV chargers, electric ranges, electric water heaters, electric? I mean, is this big for y'all? I personally am not. The only thing that I see more often is the EV chargers, because more people are driving the electric cars. We actually see quite a few of those Cybertrucks in the area.
Ugly.
You agree? Who agrees? Who says that?
Oh no, I agree. This is Andy.
Oh, what's up, Andy?
I agree that I'm seeing maybe a small amount of the EV chargers, but the trucks are ugly. Just my opinion.
They look like trash cans, right? I don't.
Basically,
The more I see it, the more I'm okay with it. The more I see it, the more I'm getting warmed up to that look. But I kind of want to see what version 2 is going to look like. I'm probably more of a buyer of version 2 or 3 than version 1. I don't think I'm going to buy version 1. It is the most outstanding looking, but I don't think I'm going to buy version 1.
yeah, just because you get used to a turd on the side, it's the same thing. It's there.
It's true.
But honestly, they don't look very functional as a truck. Maybe as an off-road vehicle, but not necessarily as a truck.
Yeah, I feel like version 1 has to have more issues, but that might just be my experience with technology overall. But it seems like a big computer. Elizabeth Nightingale says solar panels on the roof are kind of a problem in a hurricane zone. The real estate attorneys cringe at transactions with panels. There's always a problem. Interesting. We every home that I've ever listed that has had solar panels, the sellers have brought money to close because the solar panels they were not worth what they paid. Or if they paid cash, I do have one that's paid off the solar panels and paid cash. They're not getting the value out of the solar panels. It's still comping about what other homes sold for plus a little bit. And here they are with $70,000, $100,000 solar panels, and they're getting a $10K bonus on the sale price.
Or if the buyer has to assume the solar panel loan, it has to be added to the DTI.
Yes.
For the buyer when they purchase the home, and that can kill a deal because some of those deals are just homes.
I will have to say a little bit of this could be stigmatization from other agents in the marketplace by saying, hey, this has solar panels. You probably want to look at it. Let's go look at these others. Instead of, because I did hear one agent say that on the Ring camera. They were doing a video tour for their client, and they were just talking to their client about the house, and they get up to the Ring camera, and my client sent it to me and said, hey, this person says not to buy the house because it has solar panels, but our panels are paid off. And the agent was saying, yeah, you'll have to assume the loan. The agent had no idea. So I called the agent and said, hey, by the way, the solar panels are paid off. They heard you on the camera. And she's like, oh my gosh. So if you're an agent out there and you see a home with solar panels, call and get the information, because if they're paid off, it could be a really good deal for your buyer who doesn't have to pay for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of solar panels, and instead gets the benefit with just paying maybe 10 to 15K more than a regular home that's listed on the market. The electric ranges are still a big no-no in our market. People hate electric ranges in our market. Every time I go into a house with a client and there's an electric range, they go, ew. I don't, Hillary says, we're loving gas in Nashville, but possibly because we can have 3 straight weeks with no sunshine. Yeah. We love gas here too. It's easier in bad storms to have gas than electric. All right, what else? Cozy vibes. The term cozy vibes speaks to a particular aesthetic that appeals to buyers looking for smaller, cozier spaces, including dens and dining rooms rather than open floor plans. Judging by home buyer search terms, the word cozy has lost much of its stigma as a euphemism for tiny. The word cozy appears 35% more in for sale listings than a year ago. Yeah, like somebody would say cozy Tim Macy, and they may be calling him tiny. And now that's kind of lost its stigma to where now if you say cozy Tim Macy, you just know that you just want to hug him. You know, you just want to walk up and cozy up to him. What's up, Tim? I saw you. Tim Macy entered the chat. And I have no comment on cozy. I do have a comment on this open floor plan versus closed floor plan. I'm getting more younger buyers that don't want an open floor plan. And it's wild. Are y'all seeing that? We'll walk into an open floor plan and they'll go, no, it's too open. Like, really? Like, people were moving their walls for years and making these things like giant warehouses for the kitchen, dining, living. It was all one big giant room, and then they had all these other rooms off of that. And more people they're wanting a wall here or there. They're wanting some corners. They're wanting to be cozy. Old world comeback. The modern minimalist aesthetic is not for everyone, according to Zillow's research on design trends. 2025 is going hard on nostalgia and vintage vibes. Think floor patterns, tapestries, antique furniture and decor, and chintz. I don't even know what chintz is. What's chintz? CHINTZ. What's chintz? Is that like bric-a-brac? And yes, I had to look the last one up. Oh, okay, good. They did too. Nostalgia means mentions have gone up 14% for for sale listings, while mentions of vintage have gone up 9%. Mentions of home libraries, bibliophobic decor. Not phobic. Bibliophilic decor are up 22%. In the Victorian area, a second kitchen, back kitchen is appearing 8% more. A Victorian era scully is what that's called. It's a second kitchen or back kitchen. I think you could kind of combine these two, old world comeback with cozy, in a term called hygge. It's a Danish, I think it's Danish, design philosophy that just talks about having accents around the house that make the home feel like home, and would cover both of these, cozy and old world comeback moves. Climate resiliency, with climate-related disasters becoming more common, cost of homeowners insurance, it makes up 86% of today's homebuyer considerations. Flood barriers, seismic retrofitting, water catchment systems, drought-resistant turf yard. Stephen Johnson says, maybe I should leave the floor wallpaper. Yeah, man. It is literally coming back. Chintz is really ugly, old, multicolored curtains, says Hillary. Is that really chintz? What? Printed, multicolored cotton fabric with a glazed finish. Yeah, especially for curtains upholstery. Floral chintz curtains. I thought it meant bric-a-brac, like the stuff that you see just sitting around the house. Chintz. Interesting. And then spa-inspired wet rooms. So wet rooms, often seen as high-end hotels, combine a shower and bathtub into one waterproof room without the typical shower, curb, or enclosure. Wet rooms are included in 19% more listings on Zillow compared to a year ago, mainly due to the growing emphasis on wellness design. Buyers are growing more aware of how their home's design impacts their mental and physical well-being. Hence the reason the word wellness appears in 16% more Zillow listings compared to last year. Interesting. Elizabeth Nightingale says, think Laura Ashley Floral.
Are you sure you're not thinking of chintzy?
That's what
which is like cheap.
So that's the term I kind of heard. I never heard chintz I never heard the term chintz as a positive design trend.
I will say we've seen it will be great if we stop throwing away all these great antiques that they now call brown furniture, and with regards to the house storage for batteries, my community, our fire chief isn't allowing it. Our light department is, but I mean, we see these little scooters burn down houses. Imagine what it's going to look like when a battery the size of your car gets going and they can't put the fires out. So I think they got to sort that out first.
Yeah, that is true. That's an interesting consideration I haven't thought of. Check out this.
Like they don't go out. You can douse them with as much water as you want and they still stay burning. So
yeah, that's no good.
Yeah.
No bueno. Especially in a place like California that has a lot of those and also doesn't undercut the brush and leaves a whole bunch of kindling for fires. That's not a good mix. Check out this picture of a chintz. It's from Mario Boata Obituary in Architectural Digest. It says it's chintz florals. So it's got a ton of flowers on the walls that are this like salmon and forest green color, but the main color of the backdrop is like a beige. It has a wood strip in the corner as a border. And then there's like what is this? A tiger colored chair, a deeper colored salmon couch that's like velvety. And then it's got a little side chair that matches the wallpaper basically. And it's got tons of pillows also matching the wallpaper. It's very, what era was this? What error was this really? I would say late 80s. That's what it reminds me of because you have like grandma's furniture in the house that the family has and they couldn't afford much. So they used all those old antiques. Meanwhile, the wallpaper was all there. Very grandma, said Stephen Johnson. Yeah. I say it's very grandma, but I think my mom actually would have loved this in its time. Elizabeth Nightingale said, "I'm way too butch to be describing this." Thank you. I'm trying my hardest to give people like a mental image of what this looks like for the folks listening on the podcast. All right, let me see if there's any. No, here's the search terms for it were highest in January of 2004, and then it's gone down and started to make a slight comeback to present. So there you go. What are consumers searching? It's good to know. Check out the full article on Broke Agent Media. Work some of those search terms into your into your real estate descriptions, and maybe you'll get some better hits on that stuff. Kudos goes to the first person that's able to list a home and use the word chintz. Just let me know. I want to shout you out if you do that because I love it. Even though it looks terrible.
Don't be rude.
I still love it. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today, everyone. That's all I got. I'll see you guys next week. We'll have a regularly scheduled program. Then is it the week after that? Oof, wow, look at that. As if right on cue. Sorry, my do not disturb automatically turned off. We'll have a regularly scheduled program next week. And I think the week after that is the week after that's Thanksgiving, so we won't have one on the 27th. So, but I'll see you guys next week. Sorry about the audio at the beginning if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll try to fix that for I don't know how we're going to republish that. We'll go in there and try to edit that for anybody that watches this later. But thank y'all for hanging in there. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all next week. Episode 297 next week. It's crazy. Bye, everybody.